Who can hear me in the middle? Awesome. Who can hear me at the back? And myself, I'm from Human River, and we do an annual storytelling parade along Garrison Creek. And last year we shifted from October to March for Jane's Walk weekend, and it was lovely.
This is part of the Toronto Green community, and there's several people today who are here taking registration. I think Christiana, Esme, Wei Yi is helping with the crossing the road stuff, and Joad from David Suzuki is going to introduce himself.
All right. So I am Joad from the David Suzuki Foundation, and we're happy to be here today. The foundation has been looking for a project where we can actually get involved in a more local, on-the-ground type project where we can help green a community, a neighborhood, and this turns out to be my backyard and the place we chose. So I don't know if there's any coincidence in that, but we're grateful to be here. The Homegrown National Park project is a project that was spurred by an author named Richard Louv in the States, who he actually stole the term, or borrowed the term from someone else, an ecologist named Douglas Tallamy, and he had the idea of crowdsourcing a green corridor, so a corridor for birds, bees, and other critters. And so he had the idea of crowdsourcing that by having different agencies or institutions put land into a more natural state and have those all connected so birds or bees and butterflies could actually travel down this corridor. We had the idea through Richard Louv, who is another notable author that the foundation has been closely watching. He had the idea of transplanting that to an urban setting. So this is going to be our first attempt, and hopefully it grows into something where we can all work together to green our backyards, literally, and our front yards, and our rooftops, and our alleyways, and our parks, and all the parts in between, and bring the first homegrown national park to this neighborhood. So right now, Homegrown National Park is an idea, but over the course of this summer, we hope to make that more of a reality. We're going to be bringing on 25 neighborhood park rangers that will be training. So Erin, my colleague, with her hand in the air, Erin is an expert in making awesome people do even more awesome things together. So she's going to be training up a team of 25 neighborhood park rangers. So if you want more information about this, I won't talk much longer, but they're going to be a core part of this, and we're training them in April. We've got you can apply to become a park ranger, and we will train you up and connect you with other awesome people and partner groups like the Toronto Green Community and Leaf and Not Far From the Tree and Fort York and Evergreen and various others that are now partners in this project. So we're keen to have awesome people self-select into the program. The deadline is March 18th, so it's in a couple weeks. And if you want more information, we'll probably be talking later, I'm not sure. But feel free to talk to either Erin or I about that. We've run out of pamphlets, so which is great that we ran out of pamphlets because you're all here. So thanks for coming.
Hi, I'm Michael from vanishingpoint.ca as well as from Human River, and I've been asked to introduce the creek. Well, okay, and as a lot of people already know, the creek was down there, right? There was a ravine here, there was a creek flowing through here, and it was actually about 100 years ago, almost exactly, that they actually covered over the final little part of the creek right around Christie Pits. The pit is here because we had a gravel pit here for a long time. And that was just one of the many contributors to the declining quality of the creek. And in the 1880s, the city decided to put the creek underground.
Okay. Just a couple of debates, and also that
Mr. Christie,
hostile urban environments. So it's the symbolic beginning of the national park, I guess. And the kids and any grown-up kids who want to do some bowling. I'm suggesting that we have a very few shady bombs for plants that grow in the woods, and we have a lot of sunny bombs. So I think the kids should take the shady bombs, and they should go into that corner by the fence there, and that's all you do, you bomb them. You just put them down on the ground, and hope that nature will do a great job of making something happen. And then I think the grown-ups and any other spare kids should take the sunny bombs and probably look for sunny, well, yeah, you know what? We're going to do the sunny bombs at the bottom of the park. It's just not sunny enough up here in the summer. So kids, here's your bombs.
Why not? No, we might need protection. Yeah. If anyone has any
on our iPod, but I did try to look at mine, and I noticed that I couldn't see a thing in the glare. So the images might have to happen at Fort York at the end of the walk. But at this point, I just wanted to talk about watersheds and natural cycles and ecosystems, since we're here.
I'm from NAMS, the North American Neighborhood.
Yeah, no, that's the other thing.
She's 9.5. I made some sea bombs this year, and we had them at some Saturdays already this year.
This is my wife, Trinity. Yeah, cool. Yeah. Yeah, this is really neat. I wouldn't have known if it wasn't for going to see the movie and then getting to play there, and then I saw it in your
Like, how are they related? Yeah. The creek went to both, and they're both part of it.
I work for Fred Valley Hospital.
The runoff here, if the kids want to come up again. So I think we're just going to try to put these seeds out along this slope here. It's going to get good, nice morning sun all year round, and hopefully it'll be protected a bit from the mowing. And we do a lot of mowing in our parks that isn't necessary.
Actually, a few minutes ago, Heidi from North American Native Plant Society introduced herself. Heidi, can you put your hand up? Hi, Heidi. Okay, up the hill. If you guys have any questions about native plants, she's your woman. Just go talk to her. the famous buried bridge. So the sewer is running under the ground, under the bridge, and when they built Harwood Street, not when they built Harwood Street, but after they built Harwood Street, they filled it in. Michael knows the story, and there's lots of images of the building of the bridge in the famous invisible iPads at Fort York. Now that we've come this far, I suggest we head for the traffic lights, and we're going to cross safely rather than doing the human river unguarded. Straight in front of us, Grey Street.
Oh, yes, the brand. I know it. I was just telling Heidi.
George saw the world premiere. In Brazil? He was in Brazil. Yeah. It's from the city.
Oh, wow. So open up to what's next.
Okay, so I like to call this stop Flatland because I find it so amazing that we're on an apparently flat surface, and yet we know that the creek was flowing under this park, basically under the school, and then off down under Crawford Street approximately. So one of the questions is why? From where we're sitting now, we mourn our creek. We mourn the nature that got taken away. Kids in the school with these gorgeous fish as a reminder of what have we done. Keep going down the road and look for downspouts. So try to stay as much as you can on the curb.
Yeah.
And I want you to also notice the odd little bumps and dips in the landscape on the road to the west here. Just look as we're moving. And remember, it's meaningful.
But they're not saying mandatory wage.
And you know that redevelopment is coming to this property here with the Metro at some point. So when it happens, let's find a way to make sure that something better happens to that creek other than just being at the back alley behind the condo or whatever.
It's like, wow. So you see these weird square little parks like Christie that are sunk below street level, or curving streets or dead ends, or houses that are a little bit crooked and cracked. Or supermarkets. Those are actually all indicator species for a buried creek.
Not far from there.
Well, they just drop maybe once an hour. Escorts are, and that's the next place we'll stop. And all the flow gets diverted east to Ashbridges Bay to the treatment plant. But around the sewer, you have to remember there's groundwater flowing as well, and it follows the course of the old creek. And so it's going to be with us all the way down to Fort York.
Potentials of linkages and naturalization in parks, and the role of trees in the water cycle. The water cycle isn't just evaporation, it's also evapotranspiration. And trees are actually critical in preventing.
stereo. So we're going to do a bit of an experiment here. Hopefully there's no delay in one of these. So here again we are at a piece of the infrastructure, and the great thing here is that we can actually hear the creek. So I know some of the kids have already been crowding around to hear the creek. If anyone else wants to come up, you can actually stand at this manhole, hear it, and if you put your face down to the lid itself, you can see the creek running underneath here. So this again is a point of diversion. All the dry weather flow gets diverted here. It goes down to Adelaide and then gets carted across all the way in the high level interceptor, which was built 100 years ago. And that was the first time that we tried to get a handle on what we'd already done in terms of burying the creeks and burying the runoff and burying our own waste, which is part of the ecology too. Yeah, so come up and have a listen.
Okay, so Michael's been talking about layers and layers of archaeology and human habitation and building and unbuilding. So I'm just going to riff off that to
summer I had medical problems.
Yes.
Now I
You know what? They stopped and said
around about the turn of the century. And
Well, the fact that you're building normally on public land before is very helpful.
I mean, it wasn't, you know, sort of, but we did actually have our feet in, you know, as kids, somewhere to just play around with living crayfish, I don't know about many other fish. But this is also before they that huge reservoir.
So before we were talking about how we were leaving parts of the creek behind as they got diverted to the east, but the original sewer from the 1880s still runs down here along this curving street to our east here. It's still there. It's mostly empty apart from groundwater most of the time, but you know, sometimes when it rains you still have overflows, and then it rushes down through here all the way down past Fort York to Bathurst Quay and into the harbor there. Where we're also standing here, there's a small tributary that also used to be a surface stream called the Asylum Stream that came from the asylum grounds to our west and flowed down over here and joined the creek here, and that has its own little balloon-shaped brick sewer that's also still there.
Okay, so I'm just going to talk very quickly about lost birds. There's a beautiful little description that Ian Wheel found, who's somewhere on this walk. There he is. Put your hand up, Ian. He's a historical researcher interested in industrial archaeology, and he found a story about the lost birds of the Garrison Common. So there were a bunch of ponds between here and Spadina, and this particular gentleman wrote a little story about the birds that hunters used to catch, and then how they ended up going to the island when they killed all the birds here. But some of the more spectacular birds that were mentioned are in an image on the famous iPad, but they include the white penguin, the woodstock, the avocet, and a whole long list of some of them a lot more common, like the wood duck. Okay, behind me is a well-known and probably the last meat packing plant in Toronto. I used to think they just packed the meat here, but they actually do bring loads of live pigs in, and you know what happens. So that's a nice segue into the whole thing about food and water. 70% of the world's fresh water goes to growing the food we eat. Amazingly, the meat we eat takes something like, God, I can't remember if it's 10 or 100 times as much water as, say, a kilo of wheat. So a kilo of beef or pork takes an enormous amount of water and also emits lots of carbon. So there's huge agricultural issues around water and food, and big changes from the days when we got our dinner from the creek, and servants had salmon not to be fed more than twice a week in their contracts, to now where we're getting our food from all over the world, although many of us are starting to have container gardens and veggie gardens in the back. And actually, even just a pot of spring lettuce is a great thing to do for the environment and the carbon cycle and the water cycle. Naturally fed, grass-fed animals, that's also a nice thing to do. We're headed directly from here to the fort.
Yeah, really needed a mental break today. So focus